All right, guys. So the CinemaCon panel for DC and for Warner Brothers really didn't reveal a whole lot. I mean, we heard at least, because I wasn't there at CinemaCon myself, but we heard that there was some preliminary footage shown from Dynamic Duo, an animated film from DC that's apparently going to use puppetry. So that's interesting, I suppose. And then, they talked about Superman. I was actually expecting a little bit more. I was expecting them to talk about Clayface maybe, because I thought I heard that there was a placeholder Clayface poster somewhere at CinemaCon, or Supergirl even, Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. But no, they really just they brought the Superman cast up, and they talked about the movie a little bit, and then they showed a clip, and that was that. Except then, they decided, because I wasn't going to talk about it at all, because it just wasn't that interesting. There just wasn't a whole lot to talk about, until they decided to release this sneak peek, is what they're calling it, online. Full disclosure, I usually don't watch these and it's 5 minutes long, and I just hesitate to watch any of these kinds of things that are longer than 3 minutes and are not labeled trailers, because for me, as somebody who likes to talk about all these kinds of things, trailers and news and speculation, things like that, but also who loves the experience of getting to see these things for the first time in the theater, I try as much as I can to avoid all TV spots, avoid all clips that come out, and really just watch the main trailers before the movies themselves. That being said, this is Superman, and this is perhaps one of the most, it's most important movies of the year. Not just, the one I'm looking forward to the most, it's not, but perhaps one of the most important movies of the year. And I'm one of the few, it seems like, although there were some who really didn't like the trailer for reasons that I think are valid, and then some who are just haters, and that is what it is. But I'm one of the few people who watched the original, the Superman trailer that came out in December, and I wasn't convinced, right? I liked a decent amount of it, and you can go back, and it's on the YouTube channel. You can go check out my thoughts on that first trailer. And really what it came down to was there were things about the trailer that I really gravitated towards. For example, the Lois and Clark scenes looked fantastic. The small scenes we see with Clark and his father, Pa Kent, and the scenes where he's saving people and really being that symbol of hope. Things that didn't work super well. Some of the costumes look a little too comic booky. Guy Gardner and Mr. Terrific with a little mask. And I get it. I get it. In the comics, it was like, I get it. I totally get it. You don't always need to translate one-to-one what the comics look like into the movies, because it's not always going to work. I'm not saying that it's not going to work in this movie. I'm just saying that every time I look at Guy Gardner in this movie or in this trailer, it completely takes me out of the trailer. So it is what it is. Crypto is another thing. I love dogs. I've said it before. I love dogs. Crypto takes me out of the trailer. It's just the suspension of disbelief, right? A super dog. I don't know. It just doesn't really vibe with me. It doesn't work with me. So I'm going to watch them. Obviously, I'm going to watch the movie. But as somebody who, if I weren't going to watch the movie and I were just, a completely neutral bystander, I watched the trailer, I wasn't convinced. And so really, I watched this sneak peek to see, is this going to convince me? And here's what I will say about this sneak peek. While there is a chunk of this trailer that I still am not super convinced by, it has me a little bit more excited for the movie, I will admit. And not that I'm not excited about the movie, I'm just not convinced, I feel like that's it's a nuanced distinction, but I'm just not convinced that I'm going to like the movie, even though I am excited about it. But here's the thing. The first little chunk, which is a clip, basically, a short clip of Superman, we saw the part already in the first trailer of him landing in the snow and then Crypto coming to save him, and Crypto, it's a little more extended now with Crypto basically messing around with him and injuring him a little bit more, being playful as a dog is, and then taking him to the Fortress of Solitude with the robots. And I have to say, right, there are shots in this opening clip that I really like. I love the setting, the scene setting. It's almost like 2001: A Space Odyssey, where you just have very still shots of scenery at the very beginning of it. I love the way that James Gunn frames the opening, very still, very silent in the Arctic. And then Superman just goes boom and he lands in the snow. Love that. I don't love the interaction with Crypto and Superman, and I don't love the interaction with the robots and Superman. It feels, I'm going to say it, I'm going to say it, it feels too James Gunn. It feels too James Gunn. I'm not saying that Superman should be devoid of humor. Not at all. I'm not saying that Superman should be, completely serious. I don't think that's the reason I don't love Man of Steel. I like Man of Steel, it's fine. But, I don't think that's the reason. And I'm not saying that this Superman should be just not funny. He should not be smiling and not be joking around. But James Gunn has a very distinct sense of humor and sensibility about him. And I just couldn't help feeling that these first 2 minutes were really James Gunn. Not the violent, vulgar James Gunn, but it's still like the Guardians of the Galaxy kind of James Gunn. And I don't know, I mean, like the joke with the robot of, hi, well, I can't feel it. I don't have emotion, so therefore I don't understand you. And the other one's like, oh, he looked at me. And I just sat there and I went, oh, no. Not in a way where I thought, oh, this is going to be terrible, but in a way of like, oh, I can see James Gunn through this. And I'm not saying that, again, I don't want to see James Gunn at all, because he is super talented in writing, and he's very specific in the way that he writes. But that's the kind of sensibility that he has that doesn't seem to fit Superman, in my opinion. So there's that. But the next 3 minutes, which is basically a recut version of the original trailer, but it has music, the John Williams music, I think in a little bit of a different orchestral score, was rousing. It was, I would say, emotional, borderline. I think the music had a large part to play in that. I think the way that they orchestrated the music in this second chunk was beautiful. The action looks beautiful. The way they cut their scenes together looks great. I love the sense of hope that the Superman is bringing. I love that they linger on those shots with him and Pa Kent a little bit longer this time, him and Lois Lane a little bit longer this time. I think that the second chunk of the trailer, the more, again, it's dramatized, but it's also hopeful. It's joyful. I think that this part of the trailer got me very, very excited for the film. So I'm torn. I'm still torn, right? Because the second part of the trailer has me thinking, oh, this looks amazing. This is awesome. And the first part of the trailer has me going, I don't know about this. Because again, the one thing I've always worried about Superman, this year's Superman, is James Gunn going to overpower the movie? I don't know. I frankly don't know. Because I've seen evidence for one side and I've seen evidence for the other. So we'll have to see. But guys, I will say that this little sneak peek, and I'm really glad as well that it's mostly recycled footage, because, again, I just don't want to see too much before the movie comes out. But I think that there are things to like. I will say from the opening clip, I love the scene of the sun repowering him. I think it looks great. I think what they did there, so I think that's awesome. Yeah, it's not like I hate the first couple minutes. I just think that there's some parts of it that I'm going, yeah, but I can totally see James Gunn's fingerprints on that. So we'll see. We'll have to see about that. Guys, what did you think about the sneak peek for Superman? Did you enjoy it? Are you more excited? Are you neutral? Are you less excited? Let me know in the comments down below.